Professor Sakri Abdul Hamid, Chair of the Southeast Asia Science Advice Network, or CSAN, fellow CSAN Council members, the International Network for Government Science Advice Asia Regional Chapter, or INGSA Asia, to all our virtual audience from Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam, our friends from the media, pleasant morning to all of you. Every day since the late 2019, we are witnessing how our governments are relentlessly taking action and formulating policies to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. None of us expected this crisis, especially the immeasurable adverse impacts it has on our health system, social and economic development, and many other concerns, including mental health. This morning, let me share with you how the Philippine government, through the Department of Science and Technology, is rebuilding public trust in science by putting science at the forefront of response, not only during this pandemic, but on various national concerns prior and beyond COVID-19. The Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, serves as the premier S&T body in the Philippines tasked to provide central direction and leadership of national S&T efforts. We ensure that S&T results are geared and utilized in areas of maximum economic and social benefits for the people. Our work involves innovation, technology promotion, adoption and commercialization, increasing the critical mass of S&T human resource, improvement of the competitiveness of our micro, small, and medium enterprises through science and technology, disaster risk and climate change resiliency, and effective STI governance. While our budget for R&D has increased dramatically in the last 10 years, the R&D portion in government expenditure has been at about 0.65% of the government budget, but this has significantly decreased in the last 2 years. In the Global Innovation Index 2020, the Philippines achieved its best rank ever, landing at the 50th spot out of 131 economies in the world, when 6 years ago, we ranked 100th place. We are considered an efficient innovator because our ranking in terms of output is at number 41, and this is much higher than our ranking in terms of input at 70th. This is the backdrop against which science and technology in the Philippines is operating. This is not the first time that we are rebuilding science, trust in science. Each year, the Philippines experience 22 typhoons that result in loss of life and damage to property. Former President Benigno Aquino tasked our government to come up with a more integrated, accurate, and responsive disaster prevention and mitigation system, especially in high-risk areas throughout the Philippines. We increased the physical and human resource capabilities of our weather bureau called PAGASA. We introduced LiDAR technology, flood hazard models, and real-time information and early warning to communities to help them in disaster preparedness and response. PAGASA's timely weather and tropical cyclone warnings are issued within 15 minutes of scheduled time. This is recorded to be better than most agencies with the same mandate globally and gave PAGASA various international awards and recognitions in 2019. And we rebuilt trust in weather forecasting, disaster preparedness, and also resulted in the creation of the Philippine Space Agency. According to a 2020 article in Progress in Disaster Science by Vallejo and Ong, and I quote, "In the COVID-19 crisis, the Philippine government and its public has immediately recognized the importance of the role of scientists providing science information in economic and political life. This presents an opportunity never before in the history of the Philippines to locate science and technology as essential to responsive government and governance." End of quote. On March 9, 2020, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte convened the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases, or called IATF, as the policy-making body of operations against COVID-19. This IATF, in turn, created the National Task Force, or NTF, against COVID-19 to handle the operational commands, such as enforcing quarantine protocols in border checkpoints and streets, and maintaining peace, order, and security to help control the spread of COVID-19. In both the IATF and the NTF, scientists are called upon whenever needed. The DOST serves as the head of the task group on vaccine evaluation and selection that recommends which vaccines to consider for negotiation and evaluates safety, efficacy, and other relevant data from clinical trials and international recommendations on vaccine use. The DOST is also increasing our capacity to be more equipped in future by establishing the Virology and Vaccine Institute of the Philippines, or VIP. VIP will become a venue for local and international scientists to study viruses of agricultural, industrial, clinical, and environmental importance. A sub-technical working group on data analytics was tasked to develop a science-based approach in determining whether the community quarantine should be lifted or extended by defining the parameters in the assessment. In April 2020, scientists from the Ateneo de Manila University presented the FASTER, or Feasibility Analysis of Syndromic Surveillance using Spatio-Temporal Epidemiological Modeler, to the IATF. It is used for visualizing the spread of diseases using data from the Philippine Integrated Disease Surveillance and Response System, electronic medical records, and SMS-based reports of primary care facilities. This web-based disease surveillance platform could predict the peak of confirmed cases, peak date, case doubling time, and other relevant data, which facilitate understanding of the spread of COVID-19. And it could also forecast health system capacity requirements at the municipal, provincial, and regional levels. 5 months later, FASTER was officially turned over by the Department of Science and Technology to the Department of Health, the chair of the IATF. This is an example of trust between government agencies. Although the returns of R&D takes years, it serves as one of the pillars that help the Philippines in combating the pandemic. The RT-PCR detection kit, the specimen collection booths, ventilators, rewearable face masks, QR codes for checkpoints during community quarantine, FASTER and RxBox for patient telemonitoring are just examples of R&D outputs that were adopted by the government and the private sector in the fight against COVID-19. According to the Social Weather Station, an independent institute in the Philippines that conducts survey research on topics of public interest, Filipinos are historically very fearful of virus infection. SWS surveys on SARS, bird flu, swine flu, and Ebola showed that 50 to 60% of Filipinos were very worried about these viruses. In 2020, with COVID-19, the fearfulness rose to 65 to 75%. According to SWS President Mahar Mangahas, while Filipinos think that vaccines are safe, they are relatively fearful of its harmful effects. Understanding the need to stem the infodemic, the DOST exerts effort in communicating science to the people using layman's terms, using social media, and having multiple webinars on livelihood, health, entrepreneurship, and technologies for the new normal. According to CNN Philippines, in January 2021, visibility is highly contributory to build trustworthiness for our scientists and researchers. Last Friday, DOST Secretary Fortunato T. de la Peña hosted the 65th episode of the weekly DOST report on DOST TV. In DOST report, 3 to 5 researchers or scientists or engineers are interviewed by the Secretary each week. This is our way of showing that our scientists and researchers are accessible. With the introduction of different community quarantine levels, public trust is crucial to successful implementation of new policies in hospital services and travel restrictions. Our people's psychology, beliefs, and motivations are important predictors of their trust in science. They are valid. So we need to communicate them. We need to communicate with them in a more familiar and relatable manner and become transparent all the time. Visibility and transparency will surely improve the public's trust in science. During this pandemic, our R&D communications team, composed of science communicators from all our R&D agencies, regularly communicate DOST scientific outputs to the public. According to the Wellcome Global Monitor Trust in Scientists Index, globally, 18% of people have a high level of trust in scientists, while 54% have a medium level of trust, 14% have low trust, and 13% have no opinion. A rating of 30% and above means high trust. This portion of the 2018 index shows countries where people are most likely to have high trust in scientists. The Philippines is ranked 16th in this index between New Zealand and Iceland. Publicus Asia Incorporated, an independent, non-commissioned national poll covering areas such as state of economy and national issues, among others, published in this year's first quarter poll that the Department of Science and Technology is the third most trusted government agency in the Philippines. From these figures, one can say that science and technology in the Philippines has earned a relatively high trust from the people. As we roll out COVID-19 vaccination, we are gaining ground on the Filipinos' willingness to be vaccinated, and it is now at 45% yes, 24% unsure, and 21% no. But we still have a long way to go, and we need to keep communicating science to the people. The COVID-19 crisis presented an opportunity for science and technology to shine the light on responsive government and governance. To rebuild trust in science, our top decision makers need to appreciate science and technology and have science advisors in the decision-making process. We need to continue solving pressing national problems with science and technology to continuously increase science literacy as everyone can relate to national problems. A whole of society approach guarantees cooperation, collaboration, and success. Lastly, this pandemic brought with it the phenomenon of infodemic, where fake news travels faster than the truth. Thus, we need more science communicators to rebuild trust in science. I look forward to hearing Dr. Edison Tandok, Dr. Irma Mirzawati Muhammad, Dr. Anders Carlson, Dr. Finaria Lego, and Dr. Kwong Antuan discuss the value and importance of rebuilding trust in science for the effective management of current and future crises. Thank you for your attention and good morning.